Hey, I want to thank you for joining us here on Polk Place. I'm Brian Lacey. And joining us in studio from Peace River Center, her name is Delaney Silvestri. How are you doing?
Doing well, Brian. Thank you so much for having me.
First time in on the show?
That it is.
How'd you get elected to this?
Tiffany over at Peace River Center. She said, you know, they need somebody over there to chat up some stuff. You're the girl for it. And I said, all right, I'll take it.
So, you know, as summer kind of winds down, you know, kids kind of get anxious and, you know, want to keep that, you know, look, I'm 50-something and I'm trying to continue the endless summer. That's why I live in Florida. But, you know, preparing to go back to school, what are some of the things that parents can do to slowly wean them out of summer mode and then put them back on the path to, hey, it's time to hit the books?
I think routine definitely helps, but also exactly what you said. Even us as adults, we're constantly wanting that endless summer. We've got the context for it. You know, it's a little bit harder for the kiddos. All they know is, you know, go from school, go to summer, get a nice little break. Even going back to work on Mondays is hard for us, never mind after having 3 months off for them. So having a little bit of empathy for, you know, what our kiddos are going through, getting them transitioned back in, and getting routine established as early as possible. You know, those last couple weeks of summer, starting to get back into the bedtime routine, you know, have a set bedtime, curfew comes a little bit earlier maybe, and, you know, just reining everything in a little bit. Can definitely help the transition going from a free-for-all back into that school structure.
I think I was led down the path, as they say, in kindergarten. I was like, man, this school thing's going to be easy. I get naps, I get snacks, I get, you know, I get whatever I want. And then first grade hit, and I was like, man, that's a rude awakening.
Exactly, exactly that.
But keeping in the tradition of the learning process, talk about some of the things to keep them in the books. You know, even though summer's here, doesn't mean you can't pick up a book. You can't. Talk to me a little bit about some of the things parents should be supporting and directing the children's toward.
Absolutely. There are so many resources out there, all kinds of websites and everything. So if there's something that you know that your kiddo was struggling with in the past school year, starting to get them back into maybe some practice work, finding resources online, that kind of thing, to be able to help support them as they're going into their next school year. And, you know, when they come home, maybe see if they need a little help with homework. You know, if there's stuff that you can help out with as a parent, that's fantastic, and it shows your kids that they can come to you to be able to help and ask for help and receive that help.
Also, from the opposite standpoint, you know, a lot of kids might not even want to get out during the summer, stay in front and play video games and on their phone. Talk about the importance of the break in and of itself, and it's more than just, you know, it's more than just stay home, sleep all day, play video games, and rinse, repeat, wash, or wash, rinse, repeat. There's dyslexia there.
I think it's definitely it's tough because once you've got that free for all, you want to just be able to go for it. And I know that COVID's 4 years past now, but that isolation aspect is still really prevalent for a lot of our kids, you know, in a lot of these kids' formative years, regardless of what age they were at and everything. You know, they're very used to kind of isolating, doing a little bit more just with the family. So trying to get you know, get them into sports, get them into activities. You know, anything with socialization is fantastic. You know, kids need that aspect. And kind of supporting them, getting them a little bit more back into group-based stuff is super helpful. Yeah.
Now, with Peace River, what do you do over there that brings you to us?
So I am a therapist on the CAT team, and the CAT team is a comprehensive, very wraparound service for families. So we've got mentors, we've got therapists, we've got case management, a little bit of everything just to really be able to support these kids and their families.
Talk about, there's always a stigma when say that there's a problem within the family, but talk about the importance of the services that you guys provide in helping families really create a success story with their children and raise them and give them the proper resources, and how you guys can help with that.
I think that the biggest thing that we try to accomplish is strengthening those relationships between families. And sometimes that takes a little bit of coaching. Sometimes it's, all right, how do we put in 20 minutes of family time, even if that's just dinner time with no devices, no technology. And I think that as parents, it's really important to kind of set that standard. If your kiddo sees you on your phone 24/7, we can't have higher expectations of ourselves than we have for our kiddos.
What are some of the other resources that you have available for children?
At Peace River Center?
Yes.
So we have the CAT team, which is community-based, and then there's also, we have group nights every other Wednesday for the CAT team groups, and we just do activities. We get families in, get them together for about an hour, hour and a half, kind of fostering some of that really good family time. We do have outpatient therapy as well at our Williamsburg campus. But there's a lot of really great work that we do there, and I'm so happy to be a part of the team.
Well, we're going to wrap things up. What I want you to do is kind of put in a bow for us, talk about the importance of structure, but freedom, but walk that fine line and getting them ready for the next school year.
Absolutely, and it is, I think it's important to foster that sense of support from families. The kids, they're not going to do it all on their own. I think that as they get older, once you get to that high school age, giving a little bit more independence is fantastic, but just make sure that the kiddos know that you're there to support them at the end of the day. You're their number one fan. You're there to be able to for them to lean on. And those family activities are fantastic, but really foster what it is that your kids are interested in. School is obviously super important, but there's so much to make a well-rounded adult that can really start so early in school.
Well, Delaney, I want to thank you for coming in and joining us today. And anytime that you have anything you need to promote, come back and see me, would you please?
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right. For some kids, the thought of a new school year can make them jump for joy. Others may face it with dread due to the overwhelming exhaustion from early mornings, homework, and extracurricular activities. Now, regardless of how they view it, there is a definite shift when it comes to a routine for the lazy days of summer. Peace River Center has tips on how to help children enjoy summer and get back in the swing for the new school year. Now, if you need more information, look them up on the web at peacerivercenter.org. If you enjoyed that episode of Polk Place, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and even check out the next one.